Hi, everybody. Good evening. Dr. Dennis Mariano here, and this is really an important night in our practice because this is our Transformational Healing Seminar. Let me say that again. Transformational Healing Seminar. And what that means is that we get the opportunity to touch base with people in our practice, our community, to be sure that we are sharing with them the principles of how life, health, and manifesting works. Tonight we have a really special guest, and we have a really full house today, and we're actually going to show you on the camera. Who here doesn't want to be on camera? You? You? Okay. Okay, good. You too? Okay. All right. So I'll put it on you. So just kidding. I know your situation. So all right. So we will be welcoming Andrea in a minute here, but this is a really exciting time for us because this is a seminar that we've been all looking forward to. The special guests that we have in our community are people part of our community that allows us to connect with each other. You know, in today's world, the challenge we have is we have a lot of connections with social media and so on, but the problem is our connections are very broad, but they're very shallow. Our goal is to make connections that are not only broad, but deep. And those deep connections don't happen overnight. It needs to happen, it needs to be nurtured, it needs to be consistent. Like anything in your life needs to improve. So that's why we really value our community of people here, our special guests, in order for us to be able to reach the community. So before we do that, I always like to express our mission statement in our practice. And our mission statement is to provide the best technology in holistic health and what? Life care. Because think about this, why is that important? If you're really healthy but your life sucks, is that good? Right? So it has to be a balance. It has to be about your life. You could be really wealthy, you could be really, affluent, you could manifest things, but if you don't have a good life, then it doesn't matter. The bottom thing is about how do you then enhance your life to be in a thriving mode. The next part of it is that we need to be put in a position where you can be inspired to live a life that's inspired so that you can then be a beacon of hope for others. It's not about how much can you get, it's how much, what kind of car can you drive, what kind of flavor ice cream do you have, what kind of house can you live in, what blinky shiny things can you buy. Those things don't matter, right? What matters is what? How can you, if you're living a life in thriving, make a difference in somebody else's life? And that's really what our goal is and our purpose is in our practice. So with that, let me go ahead and transfer the mic to our special guest. Give her a big hand, Andrea Holtman.
Thank you. Can you put that on?
Yeah, exactly. Hold on.
Okay.
Just go like this. There you are.
Oh, and perfect.
Okay.
And this is how I change it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. About manifesting, it's something that I've always done since I was very young. And then as I got older, I kept hearing about manifesting and discovered that there's an actual formula to it. And before I like to discuss a word, I like to define what is that word. Or am I going this way? And what manifesting actually is. And the best definition that I could find is that it appears to the senses, shows itself plainly. It's also capable of being readily perceived by the senses and especially by sight. So what's really neat about manifesting is you're working with the flow of the universe, putting out what you would like to happen. And not only are you using your 5 senses, you're actually using your 6th sense, your inner voice, your inner guidance, and your intuition. And what is the purpose of manifesting? It's to bring desired experiences and or objects into your life. So it doesn't always have to be, you want a physical object. It could be, I want to learn something, or I want to build community. I want to make lasting friendships. So that's some purposes of manifesting. And it's also important to know that you are the creator of your life, you are the author of your life, and you have more authority over your life than you might actually realize. And that's why it's important to be in the positive when you're manifesting, because you can also manifest the negative and that you don't want to do. And there's an actual formula to manifesting, especially if you are new to it. And it might seem obvious, but the first thing you have to do is you have to state your request. You know, what is it that you want? Nobody knows what to give you or work with you if you don't state it plainly. So that's the first step in manifesting. And again, that could be friendships, that could be learning something, experiencing something, or it could be something like abundance. The next step is intention. You know, why are you asking for what you're asking for? And that also helps you to clearly define what your request is. You know, what is it that you want to attract to you? The third step is imagination. That also helps with the flow of manifesting. A lot of athletes say aerobics or skiers imagine themselves going down the hill perfectly to help with their performance. Gymnasts, that's what it is. They picture themselves having a perfect routine, and that also helps your conscience override any negativity that you might have. A fourth step is belief. Doubt should not play a part in manifesting. That's actually going to work against the flow of manifesting. So know that what you are requesting is validated, it is being heard. And that leads to the next step of manifesting, and that's right action, to make sure that you are actually working with what it is that you're requesting. There's something called the no flow, and I'll get into that when I get to that slide. So you don't want to be sabotaging what you're actually asking for. And then gratitude and acknowledgement. Acknowledging that you received what you had is important, and gratitude, being thankful for your request being delivered. And it's like a law of the universe. Whatever you're grateful for, you seem to receive more to be grateful for. So that's key also in manifesting. So these are just a few examples of requests that I've had. Can I hand that to you? One of them is just as simple as creating a parking spot. I grew up outside of New York City, and parking was always at a premium. So I've heard something called parking angels, and started talking to the parking angels. And I have a little more information on that, how to work with getting a spot. I don't know if that's important to anybody else here or not, maybe at KOP Mall. I also desired to be with good friends. I've moved around quite a bit. When I was in Florida and I knew I was moving up here, I was like, okay, universe, God, or whatever you're comfortable with, I want a really good community, good friends, and one of my best friends showed up, so I'm very grateful for that. And also because I'm asking from the universe, I think it's key to give back to community and just put it out there. You know, I say to the universe, I've received so much, and in gratitude, if there's somebody that I can help, please bring that into my view so that I can be of service. And that happens. The universe, I think, likes it and responds very quickly to that. And another request is to have abundance. It doesn't have to be financial. It can be abundance of resources, abundance of friends. So these are just a couple of requests that you can use. Don't want to limit you to whatever request requests you have, they might be totally different. Other requests I've had is just to grow closer to God, to learn more. A desire to be healthier, or I desire to be healthy. And this is how I found Dr. Mariano, as I was experiencing a lot of headaches. So I said to the universe, help me find a doctor that can help me with these headaches and provide care. And the other request I had was, I'd like the doctor to be close to me. So, you know, you can be specific with your requests, or you can be general with your requests. You know, the more you play with it and work with it, the better you become at it. So the other thing that I mentioned was intention, which really works with stating your request, to ask yourself, you know, why are you asking for this? You know, good parking spot, that just makes me happy. Good friends, I think that's a part of community building. It really enriches one's life. And being of service to the community, that comes by really quickly. I wanted to be of service to the community and also get my kids involved. All of a sudden this opportunity cropped up at Food Pantry in Paoli, and it was actually a very rewarding experience for me and my children. And then abundance, so that I can do things that I want to do, travel, meet people, be able to take classes without having to worry about finances. So that's my intention for abundance. And these are some others. Health, and as Dr. Mariano was saying, we need our health, because if you don't have health, did this fall down? Oh no. If you don't have your health, nothing else really matters. It's difficult to have good relationships without good health. And then lastly, I wanted to find a chiropractor so it would be easier for me to get to the care. What's really important with manifesting is imagination. Before, I had mentioned athletes use it. With the parking ferries, you can put in your request 30 minutes to 60 minutes, because you do have to give the universe some time to work with you. And then this is also kind of neat, where your intuition can come into play. And I really believe that the universe wants to work with you and wants you to be happy. So you might get a vision of where to go to park, or you might feel a pull to go somewhere, or you might even hear it. It depends upon how strong your intuition is already. And it's also a good opportunity when you're manifesting to listen to that inner guidance. One example I got a picture, I put in the request, and I had a picture of where to go at the mall. It was, you know, packed that time of day, and I went to the location, and I thought, what happened? This usually works. Someone came out of the store, got into their car, pulled out, and drove off, and there was the parking spot. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, what's key with manifesting is to imagine it. So part of the care of what I do is I go home and I lie down and I say, I am healthy. Or I could say, my spine is in perfect alignment. So that is, you're putting out to the universe positive and what it is that you want to achieve. And I wanted to point out the I am is key, because the universe gives you what you already believe that you have. It also brings you into the now. And I'll get into that a little more with the I am, but know that that is very important when working with the universe. To attract financial abundance. It's very important, as I said before, the universe gives us what we feel we have. So if you feel that you don't have it or you're lacking something, you kind of perpetuate that. Also, what doesn't work with the universe, if you have that feeling of, I gotta have it, it's just going to slip through your fingers. So what I do is I take a deep breath, I say my mantra 14 times, that's key. After that, I take a deep breath, and then I say peace. So, for example, you take a deep breath, you exhale, and you say the mantra, I now have more money than I'll ever need. I now have more money than I'll ever need. 14 times, say that, take a deep breath. Peace. And the peace helps you to settle it in and also reinforce the belief that your request has been heard and it will come through. So again, the feeling of panic or you have to have it isn't going to work with you. I'm not sure who to give credit to that mantra, so sorry about that. And there's another mantra. I now have more resources than I'll ever need, or I now have more friends than I'll ever need. And you know what? The deep breath, 14 times, deep breath and peace. A lot of times I do it when I'm stopped at a traffic light. I figure that's the best use of my time. And then the belief, to know that your request is heard, and that was part of the piece, to get that settled in. The other key to manifesting is to put everything in the positive. It's very important how you state your request. So for example, instead of saying, I don't want to be sick, or I don't want to be poor, what the universe here is, I want to be sick and I want to be poor. So what you can do is you can either say, I desire to be healthy, or you can say, I am healthy. And that is what the universe hears. So you really want to work with the flow of the universe. The other key to working with manifesting is called right action. And right action is to make sure that you're not sabotaging your request, or putting up, it's called the no flow. For example, I was talking with a woman about manifesting, and she said she wanted to manifest a man in her life, but she was encountering blockage. So we talked about it, and it came down to, she said, you know, I really want a man in my life, but I really like my quiet time and I like my peace. So she was asking for one thing, but really was blocking it with a different belief. So that's something that, especially if you're not getting what you're asking for, to be aware of, that you're not sabotaging it. You know, I was working with somebody else who wanted a new job, and come to find out she was sabotaging it because she said, you know, but I don't want to work so far away. So we were talking about how to manifest that differently. I would like a job that's no more than a 30-minute drive. So just to give you, you know, you can go more detailed with your request. If you're asking for financial abundance, are you making good financial choices? Are you educating yourself on how finances work? There are plenty of books out there. One of them is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know if you've heard of that. That's very helpful in understanding money and the flow of money. You know, and are you making unwise purchases? So you have to have an awareness of what you asked for and how you're living. Another one, if you're asking for a network of friends or a community, a good question is, are you being a good friend? Are you being a participant in your community? And if you're not, achieving that community, maybe you need to look inside and say, hey, maybe I need to make some changes to be a good friend and attract friends. And again, that's why it's so important to work with your inner guidance or your intuition with manifesting. A recent story that I had is, because I like to travel, I manifested that. March 20th, I had a trip to go to Hawaii. I think it was February 28th, my molar broke. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to get this thing fixed before I go to Hawaii. So I called up a new dentist. It was time for a new dentist. I wanted one closer to home. Found one. And the first date that they gave me was the 18th. So I thought, okay, I'll just take it, even though I'm leaving on the 20th and I know I need all of this work done. I'll manifest getting an earlier time. So I put it out to the universe and I said, you know what, it would be nice if an opening happened much sooner. So I put that out. I get a call the next day from the dentist office and she said, we just happen to have an opening. I was like, great, I'll take it. I went in the next day. It was a great dentist, had my teeth cleaned and showed my broken tooth. She said, well, you have to come in the next week or at the end of the week where I can get a mold for you. I said, all right. Yeah, I think it was the next week. She said, your new cap won't be ready for you until 2 weeks. I thought, okay, the manifesting has been working really well so far. I said, we're cutting it really close. So she said, really, it's not going to be ready in at least 2 weeks. So I left the office, I went home, and I used my imagination, and I pictured that cap went out right away, got delivered to the office, everything goes smoothly, everybody's happy, they form a perfect cap for me, sent it out quickly, and wouldn't you know, my cap was ready the next week. They called me up and they said, can you come in? I'm like, great. So that's just one example of manifesting. I told her about it, that I manifested it. She'd be here tonight, however, she works Tuesday nights. So that's just like an example that you can use. Went on vacation. The gratitude and the acknowledgement the universe gives us already, gives us more when we're grateful for it and when we acknowledge what it delivered. So that's key, like gratitude and acknowledgement. And also know sometimes we receive what we request in different ways. And I noticed I had done this when I lived in Florida. I'll tell you later offline because I didn't get permission to share the story of I was manifesting and I actually did it in a negative way, got what I wanted, but it was just a totally different way that it happened. And you know what? Play with it, work with it, exercise it with the manifesting. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Andrea.
Thanks. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Oh.
So
if you want
to... With that lady, she wanted to manifest a man, but she wanted her peace and quiet too.
Yes.
So maybe she can manifest an invisible man who's mute.
Right. Right. I had another friend, I was into feng shui for a while. She wanted to manifest a man into her life, helped her clean up her apartment, because I think clutter in a home really prevents the flow of energy working with you. And she was always hanging out with her girlfriend and her brother. She said it always seemed to be in threes. So after cleaning out her house, I looked at all of her collections. She had a collection of dolphins, baseballs. All of her collections were in threes. So what I did was I put all of her collections in twos. And after that, she just couldn't get rid of all of the men that were coming into her life. And yeah, it was kind of funny. She said, you wouldn't believe this guy just won't leave me alone, So that was a successful story for her.
So careful, Chris.
Yeah, right.
Don't feel like all those men calling you. So, all right.
Do you have a question?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. go ahead.
Yeah.
With the repeating 14 times, is that something that you came up with, that you tried different amounts of time and you found more success with asking 14 times?
Right. That's something that I learned from a mentor, was the 14 times. Yeah, so that is key too. I've asked for mentors, I've asked for teachers to come into my life to share knowledge with me.
Do you think that it takes practice? Do you think someone needs to do it repetitively over and over for it
to settle?
Really,
I think the more you do it, the better off you are.
do you think that it works for someone just starting out and new at it without maybe a solid core of really believing that it's going to happen, as opposed to someone that has been doing it for a long period of time and really solid belief in it occurring?
Well, the belief is important. Make sure, and especially when you just start something, like anything, you get better the more you do it. So the key is to practice it, not involve doubt or sabotage yourself with the doubt. And if it's not coming to you, then, inner reflection can be key.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
Keep talking.
Can you manifest onto somebody else? Like, for example, I have a family member who's very depressed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be open to this sort of thing, but can, like, I manifest that he starts to feel better, or is that?
It's you can definitely pray for him. Sometimes I try that. You have to ask yourself also, is that person open to receiving the prayer? So, because we are responsible for ourselves. And the impression that I get also is you can just say to him, oh, by the way, I saw this presentation. Just putting it out there so that it's more of their choice and they're taking it on instead of the depression. Yeah.
You can suggest they watch it on Facebook Live.
Or they could do that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if, I don't know how open they are.
Not open.
Yeah, and that's probably part of the problem, is when they're ready, they'll hear the message.
Move that way. So we'll keep talking.
Okay.
Are we still in? We're still in this thing? It's kind of blacked out, right? Yeah, because of hold on a second. So let me go here. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Did that clear up? It's not still down. Okay. All right. All right. So the one thing I wanted to add to that in terms of manifesting, the way the brain works is that whatever you focus on, you manifest basically focusing it out into the universe. Everything's manifested twice, first in your thoughts and then in reality, right? Any car that you have to think about that. The vacation that you created, you had to really, really think about that. So you're basically a broadcasting antenna that puts out what you want. So the thing is, 90% of our thinking, according to psychologists, is negative. So you have to take charge of the 10% is positive. Can you imagine? And we wonder why. Think about this. If you just sit down, if you just lay in your bed, you watch TV, right? You get on your phone, you just sit there, guess what's going to happen? Eventually you're going to become what? Depressed. If you just sit there and think of nothing, because what's going to happen if you don't take control of your thoughts, you will become depressed. It's just the way it works. You have to create. It's the law of entropy that Newton said. If you leave things towards just by themselves, right? Do you have to do anything but to make your dishes dirty? Right? I mean, do you have to do anything to make sure that the laundry gets done? Everything always goes towards disorder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we need to do is basically allow ourselves to create something. What you think of is always created. It's an automatic thing, right? It's you can't not create things. The question is, are you controlling your creativity? So for example, if I say, hey, listen, Andrea, I want you to not think of a little pink poodle with a white cat smoking a cigar in that chair. What are you thinking about?
Exactly.
That's exactly right. So you can't not think of something. So that's why when she said that you can't say, I don't want to be sick. All the universe says is sick. It wants an object, a noun. You get it? So that's why also when you already think of something that already is in existence, then your body feels differently and your antenna will work differently. It'll manifest differently as well. The good news is, and we'll talk about this in a moment, you feel everything to your nervous system. This is your antenna. Remember the old rabbit ears? I don't know if anybody's here. Sean, you have no idea what that is. That was not invented. Right? Like you would hold it up. They're like, oh, right there. Okay, wait. Can I come back and sit down? Nope. You got to stay right there. It's perfect right where you are, right? So what happens is that we're basically antennas, and you manifest and put out, and whatever comes back to you is what you asked for. You have to really be careful with regard to that kind of thoughts that you have. Here's another thing. When you think of things that are unconscious, that are negative, you're putting it out, whether you like it or not. And that's why the technique that we use, there's a seminar on this in NET, in terms of, she talked about sabotage. The way you don't sabotage yourself, you check in, you would go like this, for example, right? It's a good example.
Okay.
Come back this way again. So you're out of screen, right?
Okay.
Good. This way more? Okay. So you can go, I don't know, say something. Something
I'm
like,
wearing pink.
No, say something.
Oh, I was doing muscle
We didn't need to know about that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. She did it. I didn't do it. She's going back to the muscle test.
Okay.
You went back to the basics.
I did.
No, say something that, Jason, stop laughing. Okay, so say something just, I don't know, just that you want to manifest. Like, I want to, whatever, manifest.
Okay.
Something new.
Oh, something new?
Yeah.
Ice cream sundae.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, go ahead. Say it out loud.
Oh,
yeah.
I want to manifest gray boots.
Great what?
Gray boots. My daughter told me I need to.
So,
gray
boots.
I don't know.
Or
do you want me something like
Great. No, that's fine. Say,
okay.
No. Sorry. Manifest. Jason, stop laughing. So, gray boots. Say that, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I want to manifest gray boots.
Oh, and that's fine. So what could happen if that weekend there's a sabotage issue? What you could do is net it out, do NET, and find out what the blockage is. That's a nice shortcut to do it, as opposed to doing it again and again. Because you could, like you said, like that person that you talked about, that I want to manifest this.
Right.
There's so many ways to get about it, but one way to do it is using the NET. It's really wonderful to be able to do that.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you, Andrea, and then we're going to keep going a little bit longer. Actually, keep the mic, right?
Okay.
Just don't sneeze into it, and you can have a seat for a moment, then, and and just pipe in anytime you want. Okay, so just keep it on there because otherwise it's going to like make kind of noises. Okay, so the reason why this is critical, the most important thing you need to understand, this is your hard drive, and this is where you manifest through the organs the messages that get through, and that's the way the nervous system works. When you have 100% connection between the brain and the tissues in the body, you have 100% what? Function. Right? 100% function. When you have, on the physical level, vertebrae that are misaligned, and it pinches off the messages from your brain to the body, what happens then is you go into what's called autonomic nervous system imbalance or sympathetic dominance. Somebody tell me what that means. Anyone? No. No? Okay. Sympathetic dominance is fight or flight. Does that make sense? When you're in fight or flight, what is your heart rate? Up or down? Up. Right? So when you're in fight or flight, how's your blood pressure? Up. When you fight or flight, how's your muscles? Relax or tense? If you're in fight or flight, is that a good way to manifest, Andrea?
No.
Right.
No.
Okay. Come on, Marl, give me what I want. It's not going to happen, right? So when you have that, you're out of balance. In order for you to be manifest, what do? You breathe. That's parasympathetic dominance. You get it? So it's going to be really hard, and that's why you were guided here to even make better your manifestation skills, is because if you're in parasympathetic dominance, that's when you eat and relax and, you know, watch TV or whatever you need to do, or read. That's parasympathetic dominance. But when you're here, it's going to be hard to manifest, because they did a study in the University of Colorado over 40 years ago. They found out that when you put pressure on the nerve, everybody put your hand out like this, pretend that's a nerve, right? Put a pinky on top of that, and that's equal to 40 millimeters of mercury, or the weight of a dime. If you put that pressure on that nerve, within 1 to 2 minutes, you will decrease the function of that nerve by 60%. Are you in pain? How will you know? You irritate that nerve, you can put your arm down now. If you irritate the nerve, you affect the nervous system, you affect the body, you affect your manifestation capacity. Really critical to understand that, because there's a physical component to it. As a matter of fact, when you take studies as far back as 1921, who was a pathologist, Dr. Windsor, he found that whatever people died from with regard to their diseases, that part of their spine, when you trace the nerve back to it, had the most amount of curvature or scoliosis, or the amount of arthritis. Because if you can't manifest the flow of energy through your nervous system, it's going to be hard for you to do anything else in your life. And that's really what he found, that when you have these subluxations, it diminishes your capacity to manifest your health in your life. Here's another thing that happens. When your posture changes and when your vertebrae become misaligned, so what's the first thing that people do when, you know, when they start, when do you start getting these misalignments? When you're a little kid, right? What happens? They're learning how to walk, they're falling down, and the thing, they start going to school. What do they do when they get to school? Are they moving around, running around like we did when we were younger kids? What do they do? Sean, you were just talking about that today. What do they do? Sit. So is your body designed to sit? If it was, you'd look like a chair, right? Your body has all kinds of joints to be moving around. What do they do to the kids? They sit, 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 sit. You begin then to inhibit the frontal lobe. Here's the thing quickly. The frontal lobe is underdeveloped in babies, correct? That's why they have the anterior fontanelle. That's actually that soft spot. So that's why they're in flexion. You notice that? The babies are in flexion. When the frontal lobe develops, you begin to inhibit the flexors, and that's how you begin to sit up. A baby also has sympathetic dominance as a default setting. You know why? If you're just born, you want to be like asleep, or you want to be vigilant, so if somebody eats you, you'll be able to cry out. You get it? That's built into your nervous system. Another thing is your immune system is hypervigilant, because guess what? You've never been out in the environment. You want your immune system to be looking at everything, tasting everything, smelling everything, so you can protect yourself. You get it? Well, if you keep doing that, you're going to kill yourself, right? So with the frontal lobe, as it begins to develop, it's an amazing design. As this begins to develop, not only does it inhibit the flexors, which makes you stand up straight, right? And it allows your immune system to be modulated so it goes further down, so it's just right. And the sympathetic system calms down, and you can be, that's why kids love to laugh and, you know, just enjoy themselves and so on. Here's what happens. When your posture changes like this, right? You ever see people that start to like go like this? You inhibit the frontal lobe. If you sit a lot, you think negatively, you're subluxated, you inhibit the frontal lobe. What do you go back into? Flexion, sympathetic dominance, anxiety, depression, you get it? And guess what happens to your immune system? You get sick all the time. That's why all these kids with ADD, ADHD, all these immune system issues, they usually have subluxations when they're little, and the frontal lobe becomes inhibited, and that's why they're all on meds. That's the way the brain works. And that's why it's so critical to take care of your nervous system, because ideally you should have optimal health, right? But if you have misalignments or subluxations in the body, what happens to the nervous system? You get interference, and then what? Everybody say out loud. Body malfunctions, and then what? You lose your health, and then what? Look, where does everybody take action? Way down here, right? That'd be like yelling at your manifester because it's not manifesting when you really need all the steps there. So what do you need to do? To get you manifested this. Let me just say something too. Being healthy is a natural state of being. Being sick takes a lot of hard work. Because you had to eat crappy, you didn't exercise. That's a lot of hard work, right? Doing all the bad things in your life is a lot of hard work, but you didn't do it consciously. Does that make sense? So in order for you to get rid of this, you have to what? Regain your
Health.
and then you have to get the body to function well, and then you have to take away consistently nerve interference, and you have to get rid of this. And what causes this? Physical stress, emotional stress, and chemical stress. Anybody here exempt from that? Chris? I think you said that before. No? You're not exempt from that either. So yeah, when you get rid of this, then you can express optimal health. It's the same thing. You have to take away what gets in the way of what's already your birthright, which is your natural health. It's the same principle, right, Andrea?
Yes.
So again, the way you manifest is through what? A clear CNS makes it much easier, because otherwise you struggle. So thank you so much, Andrea, for being here. I just want to go ahead and close with our statement of purpose again, to provide the best technology in holistic health and life care. And you know what? It's not just going to be through our office. It's going to be other people in our community as well. Why? What do we need to do? We need to do what to people?
Inspired.
You want to live inspired. You want to have communities that are inspired, not depressed and anxious and, you know, not able to manifest. Because if they're inspired and they're living what way? Right? So they can do what then? You want to be a light bearer. When you come into the room, you want people to be better than before you walked into that room. And that is really our catalyzing statement to help with that. But you know what? It's a heavy burden. That's why we do these classes. How many people do you know out there that don't know the truth about health that you know right now? They can't manifest it because they don't know. And there's many people in the community that, you know, you need to think about those people and help manifest by visualizing for them to be open to these ideas. Those of you online, if you haven't done so, our website, drmoran.com, contact us. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram and social media. We don't do it to become famous. We're here to help people to reach out. If you have any questions, type them in the comment section. If you found value in this video, especially I'm sure everybody found a lot of value with Andrea's information, go ahead and give it a like, give us some comments as well so people can engage. Most importantly, if you have friends and family members that you know are struggling, that you mentioned, Kate, have them watch the video, tag them on this, you know, send it to them. And guess what? They may not open it immediately, but when they come to a point of desperation and you can pray about that, they may go, you know what else am I going to do? I might as well, you know, I mean, how many people have you known throughout your life that had said one thing that you didn't even know you were listening and that influenced you for the rest of your life? They said that one word that they didn't even know they uttered, right? Because every word you say is a prayer, and that helped them. So yes, don't buy into the concept of that, okay, they're not going to do this. How do you know? Maybe they didn't do that 2 seconds ago. Something could switch, boom, and all of a sudden. But if you don't provide the literature, the documentation, or the information, their seed was never planted. Does that make sense? And that's our job, is we're really here to be farmers, is to plant seeds with everybody. It's up to them to grow it. That's their responsibility, but we're here. And if you yourself are having challenges, please give us a call in our office, see what we can do to help you. Our next seminar, speaking of which, is dovetails with yours, is how to improve your anxiety and depression with NET. Really, really powerful information. And that's going to be next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Let me close with this poem. This was attributed to Mother Teresa, but it was actually by this gentleman, Dr. Kent Keith. He said, people are illogical and reasonable and self-centered. Love them anyway. Talk about manifesting, right? If you do good, people will accuse you of being selfish and have ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you're successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you're honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. People favor underdogs but follow only top dogs. Fight for a few underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help but may attack you if you do help them. Help people anyway. Give the world the best you have and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Get some new dentures. No, give the world the best that you have anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and your God. It was never between you and them anyway. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And for you online, please pass this on to everybody. Thank you so much. Give yourself a big hand. Dr. Dennis Mariano, take care and watch the video. Thanks, everybody. Give Andrea a big hand.